Ohio is brought to you by Chevy. Check out their award-winning lineup only at your Tri-State Chevy dealer. And by Skyline Chili. Feeling good? It's Skyline time. Beautiful outside, but the roof is closed here inside Rogers Center. Let's take a look at the Reds lineup, brought to you by Menards. Hamilton, Cozart, Votto at the top. Duvall, Suarez, Schebler. Jeanette is 7th. He will DH in this game. Barnhart catches. Peraza bats 9th, and he will play second base. On the mound for Toronto this afternoon, 29-year-old right-hander Mike Bolsinger. His stats brought to you by Mazda.
The Reds may have seen him before, either with the Diamondbacks or the Los Angeles Dodgers. He's had 4 starts this year, and the one thing that kind of jumps out at you, look at this number right here, 15 walks in 20 innings. He is not a high strikeout pitcher, so anytime you dig yourself a hole by putting runners on base via the base on balls, you're apt to have a higher earned run average. He does, so this might be a pretty good matchup for Reds hitters here this afternoon.
In fact, the Reds did face him last year early in the season in May when he was a member of the Dodgers. August, traded over here to Toronto. Started this year in AAA, and here he is in the big leagues working against the Reds on this final day of the month of May. Hamilton to lead it off. First pitch of ball, and we are underway. Notice right off the bat, this is one of those guys, and there are so many of them now, that work primarily from the stretch, regardless if they are a starter or a reliever. Four starts this year for Bolsinger here. None of them have been what you'd call quality starts. His best was his first one against Cleveland when he allowed 2 runs in 5 2/3. The team in his 4 starts has won 1, lost 3. Billy a hit last night. It came in the 7th inning. It tied the game at the time at 4. He was 1 for 5 last night. Full count. Bolsinger, a native of Chicago, grew up with the high school in McKinney, Texas, and then attended the University of Arkansas. Drafted by the D-backs back in 2010. That's strike 3. Billy thought he had walked. That one looked a little bit high, according to Hamilton. Maybe some other folks in that Reds dugout as well, but Carlos Torres rings him up.
You have to remember what the strike zone is. That ball is high. The strike zone is legally defined as the top of the shoulders to the waist, the midway point between those 2 spots, when a hitter actually swings. And I can see why Billy Hamilton is upset with that. That ball looked way out of the strike zone.
Normally, even on a questionable call, you won't see Billy say much at all. Here's Cozart. He keeps the red hot bat going as he rips this ball down the left field line. Nice play out there by Chris Coughlin, the left fielder, to get that ball back in. Cozart aboard. He had 2 hits last night, including a home run in the 1st and another in the 5th.
I mean, really, well, what else is new for Zach Cozart? Steps to the plate, first pitch, line drive.
Well, his 11-game hitting streak came to an end on Monday here. I mentioned the 2 homers yesterday and a single here. He starts the day 3rd in the league in hitting at .350. And he has not let up through the first 2 months of the season. Here now is Votto. It was Cozart and Votto who went back-to-back in the 1st inning last night. Talking about those home runs before the game today amongst the media waiting to meet with Brian Price, and we were told that the home run ball hit by Cozart in the 1st actually measured further than the home run ball by Votto, which seemed impossible because Votto's went off the facing of the 2nd deck. He corks another one out towards center. That ball carrying well, and that's going to go. Home run for Votto. 2 days in a row. Home run in the 1st inning. Both of them straightaway center. 14th for Votto. 2-0 Reds.
home run celebration aside, Votto is able to just make ballparks look small. Right out the front door, second day in a row for that. This time he catches a breaking ball. Boy, the ball sounds good coming off his bat.
Ezekiel Carrera, who climbed the wall out there trying to make the catch of that ball. Kevin Pillar getting the day off today. It was Carrera who made a diving catch on a ball hit by Duvall in the 7th inning last night. That really was a game saver for the Blue Jays. Speaking of, here is Duvall now. Had him at 277, 14 home runs, 45 runs batted in. His 14 has him tied for second in the league in long balls. His RBI total has him second, one behind Charlie Blackmon. This guy, in my estimation, has had an all-star first couple of months. Was an all-star, of course, last year, along with Bruce. All right, so how about the Reds now? They scored 2 in the first. That means 6 consecutive games they have scored in the first inning. 9 of the last 10 games they've scored in the first inning. First time they've scored in the first inning in 6 straight games since 1999.
It's a good offense. I mean, everybody will talk about that with visiting teams coming into Cincinnati, or when the Reds go to visit. I mean, they're talking about it here in Toronto. And if Brian Price could just figure out a way to muster up some good starting pitching, this ball club really is a very interesting club to watch.
Well, of course, they are banking from a starting standpoint on guys getting healthy who are hurt now, coming back and doing well, and guys who are young and some of them in the minor leagues who haven't been pitching overly well, getting better and coming up here to help this club. Not a slide on the 2 we just saw in the picture. Luis Alberto Bonilla and Asher Wojciechowski, but a year ago at this time, we didn't even know who they were.
Well, I mean, look at the rotation. Other than Scott Feldman, you have 2 guys who were pitching an independent ball in the last 4 or 5 years. You have 2 others that were picked up off the waiver wire. So the Reds are just patching right now. They're just trying to get through that stretch until you get some of those guys back that they expected to be healthy. Some will be longer away than others, but I think that they hope to get Homer Bailey sooner than later. Hopefully the news on Brandon Finnegan continues to be good. Amir Garrett will mend hopefully very soon. That was a hip injury, not an arm injury, that put him on the DL.
Brian Price was very optimistic regarding Garrett in his pregame meeting. He said maybe hopefully near the end of the upcoming homestand. Take a look at the Blue Jays defensive setup, brought to you by your Ford dealers. A little bit different looking today. Chris Coughlin is out in left. Ezekiel Carrera moves over to center. It's Bautista in right. Russell Martin goes from behind the plate to third. Goins at short. Travis at second. Morales is the first baseman. Maley, the Edgewood, Kentucky native, former Wildcat from UK, is behind the plate. Mike Bolsinger on the mound.
You know, Bolsinger's the kind of pitcher that really doesn't have the stuff to get you out, but he has to put the ball in a position where, and a location where the hitter gets himself out, if that makes any sense. I mean, not an overly powerful fastball velocity wise. He's only 90, 91, maybe 92. Not a whole lot of movement on it. What he does, though, is kind of interesting. He throws almost 75% either cutters or curveballs.
Martin backhands this ball, guns it across in time to get Suarez. First inning over, but Joey Votto, second straight game. Center field blast in the first. Reds up 2-0. 2-0 lead. They take the field here in the bottom of number 1, and here's the lineup for the Blue Jays on this Wednesday afternoon, brought to you by Menards. Travis goes into the number 1 spot for the first time since the first week of the season. Carrera second, Bautista 3. Morales, Smoke, and Martin. Coughlin getting the start today, as is the shortstop Goins, who's batting 8th, and Luke Maile catching and batting 9th. Here's Tim Adelman, the 29-year-old, trying to do what he did last week in Philadelphia. Stats brought to you by Mazda. Adelman against Devin Travis to get the bottom of the first going. Number 1 spot in the Toronto lineup has really been occupied by Kevin Pillar 95% of the season thus far. Although Travis was there the first 7 or 8 games of the year. He's back up there today, and handling him for the first out. Look at the Reds defense, brought to you by your Ford dealers. Duvall, Hamilton, Shebler, Suarez, Cozart, Peraza, Votto, Adelman, and Barnhart the battery. Scooter Gennett DHing today, so 3 games, 3 different DHs in this series. Tucker behind the plate with Adelman. Barnhart has made a couple of starts behind the plate with Adelman. Both have been quality starts for Tim. Mesoraco has caught each of the last 4 games with Adelman on the mound, including the game on Friday in Philly, but it's Barnhart today. Ezequiel Carrera playing center field with Pillar out of the lineup. The late addition to the lineup on Monday. He had been 3 for his last 34 coming into Monday night's game, and he went 4 for 5, tying a career high in hits in that game, earning him another start last night when he went 0 for 3. If Adelman can be, the comment you made about Bolsinger could also apply to Adelman. He has to put the ball in spots to let the guys get themselves up.
Oh, I think you're exactly right about that, Jim. You know, he's a guy that has had to adjust and readjust some more on his journey from the minor leagues to independent baseball to coming back and finally making the major leagues and throwing some pretty good ball games. 8 innings of 1-hit baseball his last time out.
Into right, and that'll be a hit for Carrera.
Like he was an inning away from a 1-hit complete game shutout. The Reds decided to make a pitching move in that 9th inning. The Phillies ended up scoring a couple of runs, and the Reds went on to win 5-2.
Interesting that in that game on Friday, he allowed a hit to the second batter of the game. That was Andres Blanco, and did not give up another hit the rest of his time out there. Well, maybe the same thing will happen today. We'll see. And as you said, different lineup, Toronto versus Philadelphia. Here's Bautista.
You know, the one thing that Tim Adelman understands, though, is his limitations and his strengths. And he never is going to be the kind of pitcher now that is just going to get frustrated and just try to throw the ball by somebody. He knows the value of his breaking pitches. He knows the value of changing speeds, and he's gotten pretty good at it.
Adelman 3-2 on the year, 8th start, a .495 ERA. His ERA went from 6.19 to .495 with his 8 innings of shutout baseball on Friday. One ball, 2 strikes now. So the Blue Jays on Friday seeing Luis Alberto Bonilla for the first time. Last night seeing Asher Wojciechowski for the first time. And today seeing Adelman for the first time. Bautista 2 hits last night, including that home run in the 4th. He was back-to-back with Josh Donaldson. Runner going. Hammered to left. Down in front of Duvall for a hit. Carrera keeps on motoring on his way to third. First and third with 1 out.
Well, when you let Jose Bautista extend his arms and keep that barrel on the baseball, it sounds like somebody stacking timber up here north of the border. That ball just sounded very crisp coming off the bat. That's part of the strike zone that Adelman simply has to stay out of.
So the Jays have the tying runs on with 1 man out here in the bottom of the 1st. Here's last night's late inning hero, Kendrys Morales. His home run is 10th of the year in the bottom of the 8th against Blake Wood. Turned out to be the winner in the game for Toronto, 6-4. He is also very susceptible if they can get the ball on the ground to the double play ball. He has hit into 10 of them this year. What we're talking about, into a double play. Worst in the American League. Andrews of Texas, and then Morales along with Aaron Judge. So he hits the homers, he drives in the runs, and he also hits in the double play. Duvall will catch this. Carrera will tag and score. Throw comes into second, so Bautista stays put at first. Give Morales his 30th RBI. Jays are on the board. 2-1 Reds here in the bottom of the 1st. So now it's Justin Smoke, switch hitter, hitting from the left side. Standing in against Adelman with a runner aboard and 2 out. Smoke hitless last night. He was 0 for 3, did draw a walk. He is on pace to set a new career high in terms of home runs. He hit 20 for Seattle back in 2013. Hit 18 2 years ago here in his first year with the Jays, and here we are, not quite a third of the way through the season. He has a dozen. Leads his team with those 12 homers and with his 34 runs batted in. That's why right there, with runners on base, he has really been very, very good. Votto holds Bautista. Smoke DHing in this game. Morales is playing first base. Just the opposite the first 2 games. Reds will pack up, head on back to Cincinnati after this one. Ends up being a 7-game road trip, scheduled for 8, but remember that second game in Cleveland last Thursday rained out. Got under it, hits it way in the air. Peraza in foul ground to retire the side. 1 run on a sac fly by Morales. 2-1 Reds after 1. Storyline brought to you by Elk and Elk. How about Joey Votto? This home run means the Reds have scored in the first inning in 6 straight games. First time they've done that since August of 1999. As Chris said at the time, well, this offense has really been doing a good job this year. They came into this series 6th in the league in runs scored, so the upper third basically. Lead 2-1 here in the second. Schebler to lead it off. Bolsinger was down at AAA Buffalo to begin this year. He made 4 appearances, 2 starts down there. 1-1 with a sub-2 ERA. Came up here and made his 2017 big league debut on the 9th of May. Working against the Indians. And this club has had a banged up rotation like the Reds. We saw Jay Happ yesterday coming off the disabled list. They still have Aaron Sanchez on with a finger issue. They're not sure when he's going to come back. This is a guy who was so good last year. Francisco Liriano, he's on the disabled list. So their rotation banged up. Not quite as bad as the Reds, but still 3 main pieces have been gone for a while.
They're a ball club, however, that is not in the rebuilding stage like the Reds are trying to rebuild. And they get anxious up here north of the border. With the kind of start that the Blue Jays had this year, there were a lot of moaning and groaning about a 2-11 start, and then won 6 on the first 17 ball games I think that they played. They've got the Yankees coming into town for 4 games after the Reds leave here today. That's one reason why John Gibbons has given a couple of the regulars the day off.
And they are hopeful simply because they did get Happ back yesterday. Understanding is that Liriano is supposed to come back possibly Friday.
Well, it's the 2nd series in a row where John Gibbons has seen his team in a position to complete a sweep. They had the Rangers in the same situation over the weekend. They were unable to do that, and they've got the Reds now down 2 games out of 3.
They will end this month of May with a +500 record. Toronto 17-10 in the month. Reds, on the other hand, will need a win today to finish the month at 14 wins, 14 losses. Sub 500 June, pardon me, sub 500 April. Hopefully not a sub 500 May for the Reds.
The Blue Jays right now have a payroll of $163 million, which is about $30 million up from last year. That said, and they've got some money committed down the road. Russell Martin, Tulowitzki, long-term contracts. They've got some money coming off the books after this year. But I would imagine that, you know, given this market size, given the way that they draw here, given their huge television revenue, that they would be in the market for a starting pitcher come the deadline, if that's what it took to put them over the hump.
Jeanette DHing in this game. He did the same thing in Cleveland last Wednesday when he had 2 hits. 305 average with 3 home runs.
They're getting a lot of production out of Jeanette. I mean, not only off the bench, but he can play different positions. He's played left field. He came in for defensive purposes the other day to play left field. Of course, he's naturally more of a second baseman than anywhere, but he's also adds a little fire in the clubhouse. And he's fit in perfectly.
Or fewer at bats, 18 runs batted in, tied for the most in the National League. He has 95 of them.
Yeah, making the most with the least.
Yeah. He had been bumped out of a job in Milwaukee, so this is probably a welcome change for him. Holsinger's numbers, 288 is what the league is hitting against him, but he has been able to handle left-handed batters this year to the tune of a 140 average. Reds have 3 lefties and 2 switch hitters in the lineup today.
Well, you can see what he's trying to do. Just a breaking ball after breaking ball, cutter on the inner part of the plate, dropping a curveball in there, nibbling here, nibbling there. He's got another 3-1 count.
That's an incredible split right there. 140 versus 459. And yet Votto did get him with a home run. Now he has walked back-to-back hitters to start the Reds second.
Well, you shouldn't really be surprised. I mean, after all, coming into this ball game, he'd walked 15 in 20 innings. So he just doesn't really feel like he wants to challenge a lot of hitters.
There's Pete Walker, the pitching coach.
Looks like Pete's got the stern jaw here today.
So the entire infield discusses it out on the mound. Reds leading 2-1, top of the second. Off day tomorrow for the Reds. Then they'll start a 7-game homestand. Don't have another interleague series until they travel to Tampa Bay beginning the 19th of June. So they have Atlanta in town this weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And then the Cardinals Monday through Thursday of next week. And then a West Coast trip for the Reds. They'll go to LA and then to San Diego. Tucker getting his first appearance in this series, hitting .270 with 1 home run. Double play ball. And the Jays get them both. Schebler moves to third, but now there are 2 out.
I don't know what Pete Walker told him, but evidently it worked, and it probably was a good old-fashioned butt chewing out there, to which he invited all of his closest friends in the infield. He threw a first pitch fastball for a strike, got ahead of him, and then rolled up a curveball that he gets a 4.63 DP lane ground ball. Everybody's looking now at Pete Walker saying, man, you're a genius.
There's Peraza with 2 out. Turns on that ball, hit it hard. He hit 2 balls of the pulled kind last night in the 7th and again in the 8th. A couple of hits.
He's quick on the inside pitch, and that's where we've seen his power. And he kind of reminds me really of Zach Cozart several years ago, where he's quick on the inside pitch and struggles with that ball kind of down and away.
Right center field, chased by Carrera. He is not going to get it. That bounces over the wall. That's going to be a ground rule double for Jose Peraza, but give him the RBI as Schebler scores. And the Reds get the run back they gave up in the bottom of the first to now take a 3-1 lead.
Well, really nice to see Peraza hit this ball with some authority going the other way. They go up on him. I'm not sure why they would want to do that, but they do, and he wheels it into the right center field part of the ballpark and bounces into dead ball territory. Little 2-out ribeye.
He had not been, from an average standpoint, a good hitter with runners in scoring position, down near the 200 mark, but good to see him come through right there. Get his 6th double, 16th RBI. Hamilton bats for the 2nd time in 2 innings. Holsinger trying to get the final out of this inning. Look what opponents have done against him with 2 out. He falls behind Hamilton 3-0. Billy on what he certainly saw was a borderline pitch. Was called out on strikes to start the game. Cozart on deck. That will be caught by the shortstop Goins. Boy, for a moment it looked like Goins and Travis were going to let that thing drop right between them. Back and better than ever. Make sure you watch every out-of-market regular season game live on over 400 supported devices. Plus, get a free subscription to At Bat Premium, the #1 app for live baseball. Blackout and other restrictions do apply. Visit MLB.tv for details. 3-1 red, bottom of the second as Russell Martin. Solid contact on that pitch by Adelman. Lines a single into center to get the Blue Jays second going. And we've been saying that Martin is from Montreal, but point in fact, he was born in one of the 6 boroughs we were talking about last night during the game, East York. Going back to what Drake calls it, the 6. That's one of the 6. One of the 6 boroughs here in the Toronto area. Went to high school in Montreal, college in Florida. Here's Chris Coghlan now, leadoff man on. He was scheduled to start the game on Friday, Coghlan, then a late scratch. I said Friday. On Monday he was a late scratch, the lower back strain. Hitting .224 with a homer. Part of the Cubs World Championship team a year ago, Chris Coghlan. ball four. Coghlan draws the walk. Coghlan was involved in one of the more unique plays of the year earlier this year in St. Louis. Remember this one? The dive right over Yadier Molina and the score.
You know, if you didn't know better, you would have thought that maybe Molina and Coghlan had practiced that and rehearsed it ahead of time, like a WWE move. But he shows his athleticism. Former Rookie of the Year.
Perfectly executed high jump right over Molina. Now Adelman in a bit of trouble here. A base hit, a walk, and he deals with his shortstop Ryan Goins. Goins was the guy who played short when Tulowitzki was out most of the time. Inning 213 with 4 home runs. Tulowitzki and Josh Donaldson still only back now for less than a week, both getting the day off today. Day game after back-to-back night games. And from a Reds perspective, they're glad they're out of the lineup. Donaldson last night with that monstrous 2-run homer in the 4th, and of course Tulowitzki in the 3rd inning on Monday at the grand slam. You went down and visited with Donaldson before the game today.
They got him. I don't know if Cozart was able to get his foot in front of the bag to keep Russell Martin from getting back in there, but a quick throw to second base. Really well done, and no, he didn't block the bag at all. He just got the tag down on him before Russell Martin was getting his hand back in.
Well, what a quick move by Adelman there.
Well, the Blue Jays are going to take a look at it, but I don't think they're going to be happy with the ultimate result any more than Russell Martin is. You talk about running yourself out of a potential huge inning. Saw the Reds do that last night. And now, of all people, Russell Martin. Wow.
Now a double play ball gets Adelman and the Reds through this inning. Adelman not quite the strike throwing machine so far today that he was Friday in Philadelphia.
Well, what he did against the Phillies was way above his career average when he went 8 innings of 1-hit baseball. I mean, there aren't too many pitchers that can go out there and expect to do that. Very much like the way the Blue Jays scored 17 runs the first game in here. Well, they're not going to score 17 the next day, nor is Adelman likely to go out and throw a one-hitter here today. So sometimes you struggle. One game a little bit more than the other. You got to figure out what is working for you. And you got to stay stubborn with your stuff. And for Adelman, that means continue to work on that breaking ball, continue to throw the changeup, because those are pitches that they've got to work for him in order for him to have a good game.
Here now is Luke Maile. We talked about the Edgewood, Kentucky native, graduate of Covington Catholic, and a Wildcat from the University of Kentucky.
Now, when all else fails, if Adelman's beginning to lose his touch, you go to a safe zone, which is down and away. You got a guy that doesn't run very well in Luke Maile. You try to get a ground ball, and that's probably the message that Mac Jenkins is trying to deliver to him right here. There's Maile from Covington Catholic. He played for Bill Crumplebeck, who was the coach there 41 years. Crumps has been the coach over at Covington Catholic. The old beat up left-hander. He was a teammate of mine playing amateur baseball. He's got to be awfully proud to see one of his students now playing in the major leagues.
Sounded good off the bat, but it's into center for Hamilton. And out number 2. So Maley retired. Top of the order now, and Devin Travis. Maley has big league time prior to this year with Tampa Bay. That's who drafted him back in 2012. He had some time last year, a little bit of time 2 years ago with the Rays. He's claimed by Toronto right after the season started this year. Spent some time down at their AAA team in Buffalo, and then up here just about a month ago.
Well, if Tim Adelman can get out of this jam with no damage at all, I mean, you walk 2, you give up a base hit, and you put a 0 on the board. A dead sprint to the dugout.
Travis grounded out to Votto to get the Blue Jays' first inning started. He's 4 for 10 in this series. Had that Blue Jays' best 13-game hitting streak snapped last night. Martin picked off out at second. Coughlin at second now. Goins at first. Strike 3 called, so Travis is caught looking, and Adelman does indeed work around a hit and 2 walks to put a 0 up in the second. Of our IGS bringing the energy feature for this afternoon's game. He's now reached base safely in 23 straight games with a single in the first inning. 364 average during that span. Second longest active streak in the big leagues right now in reaching base. Ben Zobrist has reached base in 24 straight for the Cubs, and now it's the longest streak by a Red shortstop since 2007. Now, he's beaten that since 2000 with Barry Larkin. Larkin had reached in 28 straight back in 2000, so Cozart chasing that. There's a walk. That's a third by Bolsinger. Reds get the leadoff man on for the second straight inning via a base on ball.
I think Bolsinger was a little upset earlier in that count that Carlos Torres did not give him the inside corner a couple of times. Torres is one of the few umpires from the country of Venezuela. Born in Barquisimeto, Venezuela. Got his full-time call-up a couple of years ago. Actually, he got his full-time call-up this year. He came up and down the major leagues the last 2 years, starting in 2015, after 3 years in the International League. He played baseball in Venezuela as a kid, and then when he was about 18 years old, he realized he just wasn't good enough to cut it into the pro ranks. So he decided to become an umpire and got involved with the MLB umpire camps and the camp initiative that Major League Baseball has to help umpires develop.
You can see Carlos Torres wearing the hockey style mask. We were talking last night about the old style versus the hockey style, which has protection all around the head. One of the looks right there.
Well, when he got the call, he said he broke down and cried. He was in his apartment in Venezuela, Carlos Torres was, and he still lives down there. His family is down there. They have plans long term to move his family to the United States. Well, they're going through some struggles in that country.
That big four in terms of home runs we've talked a lot about for the Reds. The only team in the big leagues that has 4 players with at least 10. Votto, Duvall with 14, Schebler with 15, Suarez with 10. In the air, but playable for Coghlan. Joey's home run back in the first, number 235 of his career, so he's now 9 behind George Foster for 6th place all time. Foster at 244. You figure that's something that Votto could get to this year. He'd need 17 more to surpass Ted Kluszewski this year for 5th. That would probably be the range of where he could go this year. Look at these numbers for Duvall the last couple of weeks. The runners on base. That's why he is sitting near the top in homers and RBIs. He gets under. Travis has it for the second out. Don't miss an all-new episode of Beer Money with Gabriela Cruz and Jensen Lewis from El Dorado, Scioto Downs in Columbus. That's tomorrow night at 7 before Cavaliers Live on Fox Sports Go and streaming on Fox Sports Go, on Fox Sports Ohio, and streaming on Fox Sports Go.
Good numbers for Suarez on the season, up near 290 with 10 homers. But he slumped a little bit from an on-base and batting average standpoint in the month of May. I mean, he was so good in April. I think he snuck up on a lot of people. Now they're beginning to adjust a little bit.
Toward right field and Bautista. And Bolsinger after walking the leadoff man retires the next 3 in order. Third and fourth as the Reds celebrate play ball weekend. Sunday the 4th, kids 14 and younger will receive a play ball bat and ball set. If you'd like information on all the ways you can visit playball.com. Playball.org. Pardon me. Ezequiel Carrera in the bottom of the 3rd. And Bautista, then Morales. Adamant has walked 2. He struck out 1. The 1 strikeout was the call by Devin Travis to end the 2nd, leaving 2 runners on. One other note, we were talking about the home plate mask of Carlos Torres and the hockey style look. Lee Buttery, who's our stage manager here in the TV booth, said that the hockey style mask was developed back in the late 90s. Charlie O'Brien was a catcher here with the Blue Jays. Was watching a hockey game and thought he liked the protection that kind of mask that the goaltenders wear were giving them, and he was tired of having his mask constantly knocked off with foul balls. He was the first to wear it. 1996 was when it came into the big leagues. Base hit for Herrera, and he's 2 for 2.
Not a good night last night for Carrera, but boy, oh boy, he was on base 5 times the first night, had 4 hits, consecutive hits his last 4 times at bat, and now he has had 2 hits in each of the times in the plate today. He was batting 9th first couple of nights. Now he's in the number 2 hole today.
Here's Bautista. He represents the tying run for the Jays here in the bottom of the 3rd. Solid single into left field his first time. Bautista is now 5 for 8 in this series. Look at the difference between April and May for him. Big month of May. Interesting conversation with Brooke Jacoby, the former Reds hitting coach who's on the Toronto side of things now, about maybe a reason why this Toronto club got off to a slow start. They train in Florida, the Reds train in Arizona, but he was saying with the veteran players they have and the way that spring training develops now, that guys don't play more than 4 or 5 innings a game. He thought maybe the guys weren't ready to play a full 9 when the season started. And they've had to work into it a little bit. And they do have a veteran crew.
And that's interesting given the fact that nowadays it's almost assumed that, you know, guys come to spring training in completely great shape. A lot of them have personal trainers in the offseason. Rarely do you ever see the old situation where a guy's coming to camp 10 pounds overweight and he's got to, you know, sweat and grunt his way through the month of March just to get down to body weight right.
Now, we were talking about last night. They are the only team, despite how well they have played in May, the only team that is under 500 in the American League East. Despite winning 7 of the last 10, they are still a game and a half behind Tampa Bay, who's in 4th place. Breaking ball hit to center. Billy will get there with a slide.
Not as easy as a play as it appears, because when Jose Bautista swings the bat that hard, your tendency for an outfielder is at first to freeze because you don't want the ball to go over your head. And when you realize he gets it on the end of the bat, you better have some speed to catch up to it.
So 1 on, 1 out for Morales.
Actually, Billy may have taken even a step back and then recovers. I mean, outfielder's worst nightmare is take a step in and then have the ball go over your head.
And really, in the years that we've been watching Billy play center, I think it's happened 1 time earlier this year. The guy really adapted well to the outfield.
He's as good as it gets.
Yeah. Morales, a sacrifice fly, accounting for the Jays' run in the 1st. Talked about him hitting the home run last night, his 10th of the year. 7 of his 10 home runs this year have either taken the lead or tied the game for the Jays. This guy has been a clutch performer. Votto out. Go to second, and now they have the runner Carrera in a rundown, and Cozart puts on the tag, and the Reds get the 3-6 inning-ending double play.
Top moments of May. Moment number 4. Let's take you back to May 7th versus the Giants. Scott Feldman, what a day for him. He went the distance. His 3rd career complete game shutout, allowed just 4 hits, struck out 5. First complete game shutout at Great American since Johnny Cueto did it in June of 2014. Hasn't been a lot of length out of those Red starters, but it was on this day. Moment number 4 as we go back upstairs.
The Reds went out to San Francisco and had a complete game, albeit in a loss by Bonilla. So 2 complete game efforts by the Reds this year, both against San Francisco. Feldman will start on Saturday against Atlanta. That's a 4-10 start, Great American Ballpark. And a rarity these days in baseball on Saturday. Knuckleballing R.A. Dickey will throw against the Reds for Atlanta. That guy's been around a long time. He's a Cy Young winner.
Probably the last knuckleball pitcher that the Reds have faced.
That game will be on FS1. They have Feldman against R.A. Dickey Saturday. Friday, Bronson Arroyo against Mike Foltynewicz. Sunday, Luis Alberto Bonilla against Julio Teheran. That Atlanta team 20-30 on the year. And of course they will feature former Red second baseman Brandon Phillips. Four in a row now retired by Bolsinger since the walk to Cozart in the 3rd.
Yeah, the difference with Bolsinger really is being able to control that curveball. He threw some really good ones in that at bat to Scott Schebler, then came in there with a fastball that kind of moved him back off the plate and just caught the inside corner. He doesn't have a ton of movement, not quite as much as Tim Adelman does. Framed nicely by Maile at the other end.
Scooter Gennett bats with 1 out. Travis throws him out. So quickly 2 men gone here in the 4th.
You know, Jim, it's funny you bring up the name of Charlie O'Brien, the former catcher. And of course, he was up here for a few years, but he was in other places as well. And I remember a couple of years ago, Charlie O'Brien came out with a book called The Cy Young Catcher, and where he chronicled, I think he caught something like, I don't know, 13 or 14 different Cy Young Award winners, including Greg Maddux and Glavine and Smoltz, Roger Clemens, Brett Saberhagen. You know, a lot of of course, those guys get into the Hall of Fame, or most of them, all deservedly anyway. And but the catchers, sometimes you forget about them.
So the book is called Cy Young Catchers.
Cy Young Catcher.
Cy Young Catcher. Into the left field corner, just foul by Barnhart. Good effort out there by Coughlin, but a foul ball. Have you read that book?
No, I have not. I read about it and never did pick it up.
It does sound like a good read.
Yeah.
Have to download that. Tucker bounced into a 4-6-3 double play in the 2nd. Reds up by a pair here in the 4th. Strike 3 call. Bolsinger just missed on the prior pitch. Gets it on the inside corner there to end the inning. Reds baseball on Fox Sports Ohio is brought to you by Cincinnati Children's, changing the outcome together. And your local Ford dealer. Ford, go further. Just a reminder, tonight on the newest edition of Reds Weekly, Jeff Pecoro goes one-on-one with Reds manager Brian Price. Zach Cozart having an all-star type season, may be getting a unique gift from Joey Votto. Plus, the goal of going to Reds fantasy camp may have saved Kirk Schreiber's life. All that and more on an all-new Reds Weekly tonight at 6 on Fox Sports Ohio. Well-produced show by our good friend Ron Melanor, a.k.a. Rufus. Tonight at 6, all new episodes. Here's Russell Martin now with one out. Schedule of games today on this final day of May, but not very many played during the day like this one. They're playing in Minnesota, Houston and Minnesota. That's a battle of first place teams. Houston has won 6 in a row, so they've taken the first 2 games there, and they are leading at Minnesota 2-0 in the third now. Pittsburgh, they're at home against Arizona. The Diamondbacks lead that one 2-0. The Diamondbacks team 10 games over 500, and they have the best home record in baseball. How about that, at 21-8 for Arizona. Miami at home against Philadelphia. They're trying to sweep the bottoming out Phillies. It's 3-0 in the second in favor of Miami. Cubs will play later on this afternoon in San Diego. Cubs themselves trying to avoid being swept, trying to snap a 5-game losing streak. See who they're pitching in that game. Jake Arrieta. What Arrieta coming out and saying he thought there was nothing wrong with the Bryce Harper, Hunter Strickland
confrontation.
Yeah. Cubs aren't saying outwardly that they're worried at all about Jake Arrieta, but his numbers are nowhere near what they have been in the past. Strike 3 call.
Boy, very quietly now Tim Adelman has settled down. Both these starters actually, but has settled down to pitch himself a pretty nice ball game. Had a ground ball double play to get out of the third inning. Here he has gotten a 1-pitch fly ball out, and now is a looking strikeout against Russell Martin. Perfect spot there.
So 2 out for Chris Coghlan. Coughlin is now 8 years removed, 9 years really removed from. He won the Rookie of the Year award, the left fielder for the then Florida Marlins back in '09. Hit .321 that year. Has never hit .300 again in his career. He had been an infielder that they had asked to play the outfield. He did so in '09 with Florida. Well, that one caught Carlos Torres, and down he goes. Trainer of the Blue Jays will come out and take a look to see where that ball caught him exactly. That was not in the mask. There you go, right on the knee. Oh, right on the left knee. Now he does have shin guards on under the trousers. That was a direct shot.
Well, you have shin guards on, but you're in a position like that with your knee bent. Your knee bone is pushing right up against the shin guard, so there's no play there. They're going to just see if he can put some weight on it. I mean, if he can't put weight on it, it could be worth an X-ray.
At the very minimum, he's going to have himself a bruise, and that's going to be sore for a while.
You know, it's one of the things you don't realize with umpires. I mean, because if all goes right, and I don't know where their schedules to take them tomorrow, whether they have an off day or whether they're going right on to umpire another series somewhere, but, you know, in the normal course of events, Carlos Torres is going to take that sore knee that knocks him down to the ground right here. And he's going to have to go down and stand behind third base for a possibly, you know, 3 to 3.5 hour game with no break at all.
And that's why I've said for years, I don't understand why umpires can't have a chair in foul ground and just go sit down every now and then. What is the big deal of that? I don't understand why that can't happen.
You mean between innings?
Between innings, exactly. Well, right over near the dugout, right past the dugout, right down there where the ball boys and ball girls sits. Why couldn't they just simply go over and sit for a minute or a minute and a half between innings every now and then?
That's a question I cannot answer.
I mean, what does it harm? I don't know. There's no halftime like in football or basketball, or between periods like in hockey, where the referees, like the teams, get to take a break.
And sometimes these games go to, you know, 4 hours long if you're playing extra innings, or you have an especially long and dragged out contest.
Now think of yourself, not just you, but anybody. If you're standing for 2 or 3 hours, how you feel. These guys do that every day.
I'm glad he's up and moving around.
Yeah, and he gets a good hand from this appreciative Toronto crowd. We resume with 2 out, nobody on, and a 3-2 pitch coming to Coughlin. Strike 3 call. Coughlin was called out. He got halfway down the line thinking he had walked. He is rung up to end the 4th.
May. Scott Scheffler did it last night, making a late bid. Look at him go 1.5 miles and diving in foul territory. One of the best catches we've seen this year. The athletic Scott Scheffler making the list. Moment number 3. Top 2 moments of the month coming up, gentlemen.
That was a heck of a play against the ball hit by Troy Tulowitzki in the 3rd inning last night. 2 down, 3 to go. A little bit delay here because Carlos Torres, the home plate umpire, went into the tunnel immediately after calling Chris Coughlin out. Now he comes back out along with second base umpire Dana DeMute, the crew chief. For a moment we thought that Carlos maybe was going to be forced to leave. He comes back out and will remain with 4 umpires. Good look at our local guy right there, Luton Maley, right in front of Carlos Torres. All the folks, Cincinnati area, Northern Kentucky, Cub Cath, very proud of the young man in the big leagues here with the Blue Jays.
Well, the Maley family, really a sports family almost incomparable in Northern Kentucky. His father played football at University of Kentucky. His grandfather, Dick Maley, was an All-American basketball player down at Louisiana State University. He also played, Luke played 4 seasons of basketball.
Yeah, he was a terrific basketball player and very good golfer as well. This is our getting to know Luke Maley, courtesy of AARP. You ever gone out golfing with any of the Maleys?
I have not. I have to make sure Luke knows my number.
Yeah.
When he gets back in the off season.
Nice off-speed pitch there by Bolsinger. Speaking of Luke Maley, let's hear from him talking about coming from Northern Kentucky and into the big leagues now.
You know, from my area, it was kind of one of those things where if you became a major leaguer, it was, you know, it was pretty special. It's not it's got a lot of tradition, but it doesn't have, you know, quite as many names as a lot of other areas where guys are from around the country. So I'm honored to represent Northern Kentucky and Cincinnati area.
Now I think we'll have a chance to verify it. Jim Day was talking at dinner the other day that he was doing that piece with Luke, and Luke said he's not. He does a lot of interviews, as most professional athletes do, and he's not nervous about them at all. But growing up in Cincinnati area and watching Reds broadcast, watching Jim Day do his wonderful work throughout the years, he said he was a little nervous with Jim Day doing the interview with him.
Well, he was probably worried that Jim Day was going to ask him to sit down and do the terrible test. So, fortunately for Luke Maley, that wasn't the case, and Jim let him off, and he did get to meet Marty Brennaman, which was a big thrill.
Probably made him nervous also.
And I think when he said it's unusual for kids from his area to make the major leagues, he's talking about Northern Kentucky rather than the Cincinnati area. You get across the river, and that area has produced many more Major League Baseball players than has Northern Kentucky. Well, we're glad to see Luke up here.
Meanwhile, 8 in a row retired by Mike Bolsinger. Reds hanging on to a 3-1 lead here in the 5th. Right-hander struggled in the first, struggled in the second, but Been good to go since then. Reds get 2 in the first on a 2-run homer by Votto. 1 in the third on a 2-out double by Peraza. There's a strikeout of Cozart. That's 6 of them now by Bolsinger. $30. You get a Reds ticket and a limited edition Marvel Iron Man bobblehead. Purchase the Marvel themed ticket package at reds.com/Marvel. And again, this note, Iron Man bobblehead is only available with the purchase of the Marvel ticket package. These guys matching pitch for pitch now as we move into the middle stages of this game. Adelman and Mike Bolsinger. Goins leads it off, walked his first time. 5 in a row retired by Adelman, 9 in a row by Bolsinger. Eight, 9, and 1 here in the Jays' 5th. There's Luke Maile on deck. That's a beauty if it stays fair, and it will. On a bunt single by Goins. Puts the leadoff man on here in the home 5th.
That bunt gives you a little bit of an idea how slow the AstroTurf is here at Toronto. It used to be almost impossible back in the days of the original AstroTurf. What was in Riverfront Stadium and so many of the different stadiums, especially in the National League. You could hardly ever get a ball to stop before it rolled all the way to third base. It's about as good a bunt as you will see.
Here now is Luke Maile. Hit the ball hard, but out into center his first time. You can see by the season's average he has struggled offensively. He cracks this ball high, deep into left center field. Hamilton cannot get it. Luke Maile. He's tied this game. Second home run of the year for Maile, 5th major league homer.
Maile hit the ball hard the first time up, but it went straight up into the air to a medium fly ball to center field. This one, a majestic high ball that just carries over the left field fence.
Maile had been 3 for 53 here in the big leagues with this club this year. But that blast right there has tied this game at 3. Hate to see it against the Reds, but we love to see it for the Cincinnati area, Northern Kentucky guy right there.
They're celebrating at the Saddle Club, I'll tell you that.
So the beautiful bunt single by Goins, and then the blast by Maile. A 3-3 game. Eighth home run given up by Tim Adelman this year. He gets the first out of the inning with Travis. Time for a game break. Let's go back to the studio. Here's Brian Giesenslaw. Thank you, Brian. They're going for, talking about Houston, their 7th straight win. They and the Dodgers entered today having won 6 in a row. They win, they'll be 38-16. I don't know how surprising it is that Houston is doing well. I mean, they went for it this offseason. Signed a lot of free agents. They're going to be 22 over if they win today and have, hard to believe after 2 months of the year, an 11-game division lead.
Well, it wasn't all that long ago, it seems anyway, that they had, what, 3 seasons in a row of 100 losses or more. And there are a lot of people that, you know, are running baseball clubs. So look at what Jeff Lunau has done down in Houston, saying, well, we can do the same thing. If you lose badly enough, long enough, you'll get high draft picks. And if you make good on those draft picks, that'll help bolster not only your minor league system, but it'll give you can't miss prospects that you can take to the major leagues who will be impact players. It's worked for Houston. But you have to have a little luck along the way, I think, in making sure that, you know, your prospects end up being as good as you hoped they were going to be, and that they stay healthy.
Peraza out, Hamilton in. Billy calls for the ball. He's got it, and the inning is over. But the 2-run homer by Luke Maile has tied this game after 5.
Brought to you by T-Mobile. Congratulations, former Red Jay Bruce. 10th career walk-off hit last night against Milwaukee. Third time he's done it against the Brewers, most versus any team. And Albert Pujols on the edge of history again. Hit his 599th career home run last night, looking to become the 9th player with 600 career home runs. And word out of Major League Baseball today, gentlemen, Bryce Harper's suspension has been reduced to 3 games.
So from 4 to 3. Nothing yet on Hunter Strickland, I guess, Jim.
Not that I know of, no. If it has not been reported yet.
Okay. Votto, Duvall, Suarez here in the 6th. New game now, 3-3. Joey a 2-run homer in the 1st. Luke Maile a 2-run homer in the bottom of the 5th. Let's see, Bolsinger has gone 5 1/3 and 5 2/3 in 2 of his 4 starts this year. So he's into the 6th for the 3rd time this season. If he can get through this inning, it'll be his longest outing of the 2017 season in the big leagues. But he misses on that one. That's ball 4. 4th walk. Snaps the streak of 9 in a row. Reds get the go-ahead run aboard. Now there is movement down in the Blue Jays bullpen. That's a left-hander. Aaron Loop. Saw him throw last night in the game. Left-hander. 2 to 1 batter. Gave up a hit and was out of the game.
Well, in the lineup that Brian Price has today, he does have back-to-back lefties coming up in Schebler, then Jeanette.
Duvall has struck out and popped up 0 for 2 in this game. 3 for 11 with a home run in the series.
Well, Duvall has become so much more patient at the plate, and that is really the difference for him. I mean, he's always had power. He's always been able to, hook that breaking ball out of the ballpark to left field with the best of them. But he's just laying off those marginal pitches. The way that most teams have tried to pitch him, though, is they get ahead of him and then they try to throw the fastball up because he's become so good at staying back on the breaking ball. You can't follow that formula, a couple of fastballs and then let him chase the slider down in the dirt. Normally does not work for Adam.
Luke Maile waiting there to see if that ball may curve back fair. But it died in the dirt, foul ground.
All it's got to do is have part of the baseball hang over that line. I'll tell you what, with Luke Maile in this ball club, he will learn a lot from Russell Martin.
There's Duvall chasing and missing. And out number 1, he struck out twice.
7 of them now for Bolsinger.
So now it's Suarez.
I would imagine the Blue Jays are just delighted what they've gotten out of Bolsinger here this afternoon.
Particularly where the first 2 innings went. He's approaching 100 pitches. He threw 102 2 starts ago at Baltimore. That's a season high. Well, the Reds could really use something now out of Suarez. He has not driven in a run on this road trip. He has 30 runs batted in for Eugenio, but nothing to show for what this is the 7th game of the trip. 4 hits, 23 at bats since the Reds left home. Tried to get Suarez there on the same pitch in which Duvall chased, but Eugenio didn't bite. To right. He got jammed on that a little bit, fought it off and hit it into right field, broke his bat in the process. But a hit for Suarez, and it's 2 on with 1 out.
Well, you only hit the ball like that if you stay inside of it. You get your hands going. If you kind of bar out your left arm and try to pull that ball, you're going to get jammed, and it's going to be a ground ball, possibly a double play.
John Gibbons to the mound. Mike Bolsinger has thrown his last pitch on this final day of May. So he will exit. With the lefties coming up, Shebler, then Jeanette. It is indeed Aaron Loop who will enter the game for Toronto. This is our Skyline Chili call to the bullpen. Here's the new pitcher, Aaron Loop, relieving Mike Bolsinger, who goes 5 1/3. Loop threw to 1 batter in the game last night. That was a double by Shebler, and that's who he gets here. The 2 on 1 out in the 6th.
Well, it'll be interesting how he pitches Shebler and see if he learned a little bit. He tried to sneak a high fastball by Scott, and Scott laced it into right center field.
Shebler, an impressive .317 average against lefties this year.
And Loop's not an easy one either. I mean, we can tell from that center field angle. I mean, he steps towards the first base on deck circle, kind of gives you a crossfire motion. You really have to concentrate, hang in there on him. for motion again. He just kind of steps way down there, drops his arm, gives you the crossfire, and just dares you to hang in there. 1-2 count. Set him up for the old slider. No, he didn't.
But he did get the best of him in the AB. 2 out. Now it's Scooter Gennett. Scooter's walked and grounded out. Bailey goes to the mound and talks with Luke. Luke out of the state of Louisiana, pitched at Tulane down in New Orleans. All of his big league time up here with the Blue Jays, particularly early in his career, he was really outstanding. Go ahead run Votto at second. Suarez over at first. Reds have been decent with runners in scoring position in this series. 5 for 18. And Gennett trying to come up with one right here. Strike 3 call. Well, Aaron Luke gets the job done. He gets Schebler and Gennett to end the inning. If you'd like to bowl with a Reds team, why not sign up today for the Reds Bowling Bash presented by Adams Recovery Center. This is a special opportunity to bowl alongside your favorite Reds players. You get to enjoy a buffet dinner and receive exclusive Reds swag. If you'd like more information, visit reds.com/bowling. That's coming up this Sunday. Jason Grilli now up and throwing in the Toronto pen. Wandy Peralta in the Reds pen. 80 pitches through 5 for Adelman. Trying to get through this inning without allowing a run, and if he can do so, it'll be a quality start for Adelman. He's the last Reds pitcher to do it. They have been few and far between this year. In fact, only 2 of them in the last 2 weeks. With a day off tomorrow, this bullpen could get some rest if Adelman can get through this inning. Turn in a 6-inning outing.
Well, that depends, of course, how this game progresses. Right? Tied up in 3, there's no guarantee.
That's Suarez. Votto dug it out of the dirt. And the big shift on Morales. That goes out 5-3 for out number 1.
Well, Morales not exactly going to set the world speed record going down to first base, but they're wondering if maybe Votto pulled his foot off the bag. Morales had the air brakes on about 3/4 of the way down.
Tim Leeper is the first base coach, and he's got a great angle on it right there, and he is saying he's adamant that Votto is off the bag. But to no avail. No challenge. Here's Justin Smoke. Smoke in this game is fouled out and flied out. Jays have 6 hits. Reds have 4. Errorless game. Tied here in the bottom of the 6th. Into the shift. Peraza will throw out Smoke. So 2 consecutive batters. The defensive shift by the Reds pays off. We invite you to come and join our good friend Mo Egger from 700 WLW at the Reds Fan Cam this coming Friday. Do it at the Holy Grail at the Banks. Your chance to answer Reds trivia, win great prizes, and you could be a part of Reds Live. They get it going on Friday night at the Holy Grail at 6 p.m. Martin with 2 out. Interesting in that this right-hander Adelman retired 5 in a row. Gave up the bunt hit to Goins, the blast by Maley. Now he set down another 5 in a row. Now he has Martin at 1 and 2.
Martin made one of the big plays in this ball game. I'm not talking defense or even offense. It's just when he was running the bases in the 2nd inning. That's when Adelman had a temporary bit of wildness. Gave up a base hit and then back-to-back walks. And Martin was picked off second base before the second base on balls was issued. And who knows where that inning would have gone. As it turned out, the Blue Jays scored nothing in that inning.
Well, that's the same pitch that Billy Hamilton was called out on to begin that game, and actually that was a little bit lower than that pitch. This time called a ball. Got him. 5th strikeout for Adelman. Good bounce back since the home run by Maile, and we are through 6. Take a look at our Honda game summaries. We enter inning number 7. This is Votto. 2nd game in a row. He's going deep to center in the 1st inning. His 14th gave the Reds a 2-0 lead. This is a double in the 2nd, the other way by Jose Peraza. Gave the Reds their 3rd run, making it 3-1. It was a ground rule double. Peraza thought maybe the 3rd. And this blast by Luke Maile in the bottom of the 5th. 2nd home run of the year for the Northern Kentucky native. That tied the game at 3. That's where we are now, inning number 7. And here's Jason Grilli. So both these teams have a 40-year-old on the club.
Well, Jason Grilli happens to be the oldest player in the American League at 40 years old. He's had some kind of a really good career. One-time All-Star. That was when he was with the Pittsburgh Pirates. A year in which Grilli garnered, what, 35 saves? 33 saves in 2013. Pitched for Florida, the White Sox, Detroit, in Colorado for the Rangers, 4 seasons at Pittsburgh, 2 of Atlanta. Now he's in his 2nd year here in Toronto.
He came over in a May trade last year from Atlanta. He left Pittsburgh, and that's when Mark Melancon took over as a very fine closer there with the Bucks.
Still throws it pretty firm for 40 years old, huh?
Peraza's going to beat that out. That little English on it. That little backspin right there on the bunt by Peraza. End result is a bunt single.
Boy, the Reds are beginning to utilize the bunt for base hit just a lot more over the last couple of weeks. Had a little backspin on it, as you said, when it came off the bat, popped up straight in the air. Grilli went one direction to field it, and then the ball spun the other.
Kind of thing you do with that backhand tennis stroke right there. A little backspin. Top of the order now in Hamilton. Way in at third is Russell Martin. Peraza stole 2 bases last night. Has 12 on the year. Billy is 0 for 3 in this game.
You know, sometimes just the threat of a bunt, and Billy Hamilton really spent the first couple of months of the year, maybe the first 6 or 7 weeks, without really showing the bunt very much. He's done a whole lot more in the last week or so. But sometimes a threat will move the infield in a little bit, open up some spaces you don't normally have.
What they want to do with Billy right here. Runner going. Throw is high. And a stolen base for Peraza, number 13.
Strong arm, quick release by Maile. The throw was way too high.
So runner in scoring position now with 1 out and a 2-2 count on Hamilton. Really came through with a big hit into right center in the 7th inning last night to tie the game. He gets one here. The Reds could regain the lead. Coghlan going to make this play. 2 out. So now we'll have a good battle between Jason Grilli and Zach Cozart. Cozart lifetime 2 for 9 against Grilli. Cozart this afternoon, a hit, a walk, and a strikeout. His hit in the first means he's reached base in 23 straight games. 0-2. where Zach is now with 2 strikes.
That's normally a spot where you'd expect to see Joey Votto, not Zach Cozart, but that just shows you the kind of year that Cozart is having. And his patience at the plate is the reason why.
Trying to come up with a big hit right here in the top of the 7th. Chased one up in the strike zone. Really thrilled with what happened. Stretch time here in Toronto.
Of May. Let's take you back to Philly Sunday. Scott Schebler. It was an outfield surging kind of day. Duvall with 2 home runs, and in front of his friends and family, Patrick Kiblahan gets a start and hits 2. Reds outfield has 5 home runs, 8 RBIs. First time a Reds starting outfield had those numbers since May 11th, 1991, when Billy Hatcher, Eric Davis, and Paul O'Neill played. Moment number 2 of May. What's the top moment? It's coming up.
Well, that group of power slugging outfielders will be due up in the 8th inning. Votto, Duvall, Suarez, then Schebler. Meanwhile, to try to keep it even, is Wandy Peralta. To work to a pinch hitter here in the bottom of the 7th, Kevin Pillar. Coghlan 0 for 1 with a walk while he was in there. Throws out Pillar to start the bottom of the 7th. I saw Wandy work on Sunday, 1 inning of perfect relief against the Phillies. He's done a nice job of bouncing back since he was kept out on the mound against Colorado back in the 19th to the tune of 4 runs, 5 hits in 2/3 of an inning. He's had 4 1-inning scoreless, hitless outings since then.
Yeah, that's the only reason why his earned run average doesn't start with 0 point something, because of that 1 bad outing, and that happens to relievers. But I think that Peralta and the emergence of Peralta this year has had more effect on that bullpen, positive effect, than really anything else that has happened in that bullpen. Of course, you had Iglesias and Michael Lorenzen from the start of the year, but they were always missing that one left-hander that would have this type of a season, and he has just been lights out. Orange dropped the bunt down his last time up. Based on that swing, he maybe should have saved it for this at bat.
The lefties are only hitting 188 against this guy this year, Wandy Peralta. Orange now. Coghlan has been retired. Luke Maile on deck. Reds led 3-1 after 2. Luke Mailey's homer in the 5th tied it. Nothing since that from an offensive standpoint on either side. Now a 1-out walk. Go ahead run on for the Jays. We've seen Mailey go up there and swing early in the count in both of his at-bats.
Well, he's hunting a fastball, and for a guy that doesn't get a whole lot of playing time, that's really what you ought to do. I mean, you're not in the rhythm of the game enough to start working the counts and taking the ball the other way and doing the things that you do when you become an everyday player. So you're looking for something straight. You're looking to let it rip. Getting the first pitch changeup here.
Here's what he did his last time in the 5th inning against Adelman. Waist high right over the plate. He knew exactly what to do with it. Tied the game at 3. Jammed just a little bit there, and Hamilton will make the catch.
You know, we talked about Luke Mailey being the local guy. There's another local guy affiliated with his ball club and has been for 16 or 17 years now. Former teammate of mine, but a Blue Jay for a couple of years, long major league career. Pat Tabler calls the color analysis for the Blue Jays television network. Sit in the booth. We've had a great couple of days visiting with Pat and Buck Martinez. There's Pat. Makes the commute back and forth from Cincinnati. Lives pretty close to me over on the east side of town. Former #1 draft pick by the New York Yankees out of McNicholas High School.
Funny, no matter where you go, you can find ties, can't you? You really can.
Tabler was the guy you would never, ever want to pitch to with the bases loaded. We're going to show you something in a moment. If not, we'll get to it next inning. But where he ranks among all-time players is a remarkable thing. Pat Tabler, of all the times he faced a pitcher with the bases loaded, has the all-time highest batting average, almost .490. Interesting to see Josh Donaldson on that list.
Well, former Red Jeff Keppinger on the list.
I mean, that includes everybody. Mantle, DiMaggio, Pete Rose. Quite a distinction for a really good guy and a very fine analyst.
Crowd been reacting to the fact that Peralta's thrown over a handful of times to first, trying to keep Goins close.
You need to get Goins off your mind and Travis on your mind.
So from 2-0 now to 2-2, and here's Peralta, swing away, strike away, keeping this game even, heading into the 8th. Travis today 0 for 3. They have a great Wednesday afternoon crowd here. This may be the largest of the 3 days. Just shy of 30,000 Monday, 32.7 here last night. Big afternoon crowd here at Rogers Center, final day of May. There are some Reds fans scattered about. Another one that had a subpar April, but a very good month of May, Devin Travis, coinciding, of course, with a 17-10 record for this team this month. Still, they've not had their head above water all year. They're not very fond of Peralta throwing to first. Through all that, Goins is going to get to second on the wild pitch. Ball went right through the netting back there behind home plate. Fan grabs that souvenir. There he is.
I think it bounced up and went over the netting. Did it not? Went off the top of the glove or just over the glove of Barnhart. He never got a flick on it, and it hit the padding and went way up in the air.
How about that?
We're talking about the attendance here this afternoon. The Blue Jays are leading the American League in attendance. They're averaging over 37,000 per game.
Just foul. James Hoy on top of it down there, the first base umpire. Toronto had not done a very good job collectively this year, runners in scoring position, but boy, they have done it in this series to the tune of a .500 batting average, and most of that came on Monday. Into left field, Duvall back and gone.
Now, for the second night in a row, two of the more dependable pitchers the Reds have out of their bullpen have given up a 2-run home run. Last night, Michael Lorenz in a bomb to Hendrys Morales. And the 2-run shot off of Peralta breaks the tie and gives the Blue Jays a 2-run edge.
So now it's Ezekiel Carrera. Joe Smith, who threw last night, up in the bullpen. Now Toronto can go Smith and then Osuna. This will end the inning. The damage done, one batter earlier. 2-run homer by Devin Travis.
Cincinnati Reds. It may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Cincinnati Reds.
Your top moment of May, Wednesday at Cleveland. The Reds win a challenge which would have been the last out. They get new life, and Zach Cozart delivers a 2-out, 2 RBI hit, which included Billy Hamilton scoring all the way from first base. It ended up being the winning run. Unbelievable play, watching Billy run. That was a comeback victory. Do the Reds have it in them today? We shall find out.
Well, you talk about pulling out a victory from the jaws of defeat. That is the very definition of it right there when the Reds won that game Wednesday in Cleveland. Now their work cut out for them here. Votto against the new pitcher, Joe Smith. How about this battery? Joe Smith from Cincinnati. Luke Maile from Edgewood, Kentucky. North of the border here in Toronto. Votto, Duvall, Suarez, down a pair. Couple of changes for Toronto defensively. Pilar stays in the game after pinch hitting. He's now in center. Carrera has moved from center to left.
I gotta figure this is somewhat unusual for Joey Votto to face a sidewinding right-hander, because normally managers are going to depend to bring in a left-hander to face him.
They've used one of their lefties, Luke. They have one more, J.P. Howell. Smith has had success against Votto. Joey's 0 for 3 against Joe Smith with 2 Ks. Smith now 33 years old. Talked about last night, the pride of Wright State University up in Dayton. And he gets Votto career-wise. Joey is now 0 for 4 with 3 strikeouts against Joe Smith.
That's about as out of balance in a bat you're going to see Votto against a sidewinding right-hander right there. Smith places it perfectly low and inside. Joe Smith this year has been remarkably consistent with lefties and righties. They're both hitting just within a couple of points of each other. Batting average against right around the 240 mark.
So here's Duvall 0 for 3. Pilar back, but he'll have room. Here's Suarez. Reminder, stay with us after the game for Reds Live postgame. Brought to you as always by Performance Kings Honda. Reds Live postgame after every game here on Fox Sports Ohio. Wrap up of the game, reaction from the clubhouse. Fox Sports Ohio's Reds Live postgame after the contest here today. Suarez 1 for 3. Drew Storen throwing in the Reds bullpen. Yeah, big crowd today. 44,058. 44,058 this Wednesday afternoon. They're looking for their Jays to sweep this series. They've won 7 of their last 8. Chris talked about earlier, they took the first 2 from Texas and then lost. Trying to take all 3 from the Redlegs. Reds fall in this game. They would be 4 under 500. And that would be a new low mark of the year. Go in order. Well, as always, we invite you to tune in Fox Sports Ohio 30 minutes before every Reds game for Reds Live pregame presented by Ray St. Clair Roofing. No game tomorrow, but 6:30 with Reds Live on Friday at Great American against the Atlanta Braves. And on Saturday, baseball doubleheader for Fox. Brandon Phillips returns to face the Reds and his former teammates in a game that can be seen exclusively on Fox Sports 1 beginning at 3:30. Then at 7 on Fox, the Pirates clash with the Mets for the second series in 10 days. It all begins 3:30 on FS1, or you can stream it live on Fox Sports Go. Drew Storen in to work the bottom of the 8th. Spent some time up here last year with these Blue Jays. First time in his career a year ago, he was with an American League team. He was here, then he went on to Seattle. Things didn't go overly well here. They went better in Seattle this year, back here in the National League with the Reds. Thorne was untouchable in the month of April. He had a under 1 ERA. Not quite as effective in May. In fact, his ERA coming into this game in the month is at 5. He looks to keep this a 2-run game to give the Reds a shot in the top of the 9th. He'll get the first batter. Peraza handles it for out number 1. Thorne will deal now with Kendrys Morales. They were not teammates here a year ago. He was with Kansas City. This game he's 0 for 2 with a sac fly back in the first. Reds led early in all 3 games of this series. 2-run homer in the bottom of the 8th by this guy Morales. Won the game last night. Brian Price's team trying to come off the mat here after they led 3-1 after 4.5. Trail now 5-3 thanks to a 2-run homer by Devin Travis. This is just everything you see about this club in April versus May. May's numbers way up, more than double what they did in home runs in April this month. Near the bottom of the league, near the bottom of the major leagues, and tops in the big leagues in May.
Boy, Morales just stands in there with his hands really high, the bat sticking straight up in the air. I mean, he is just waiting to drop that bat head. I mean, he is a classic left-hander with a low and in wheelhouse.
He went around. That's going to be a strike out of Morales. That's 2 out.
So you give him what he's looking for, which is low and in, but a little bit lower and a little bit more inside. That time the breaking ball, and Morales could not hold back.
Reds in the 9th. Schebler, Jeanette, and Barnhart. It looks like Roberto Osuna throwing in the bullpen, and indeed it is. There's Osuna. Saved the game last night with a quick and uneventful 9th inning after Morales had hit the 2-run homer in the bottom of the 9th. Gibbons will go to his hammer in the 9th inning here again this afternoon. Pitchers of record right now are Jason Grilli, worked a 4-batter 7th for Toronto, and Wandy Peralta, who gave up the 2-run homer to Travis in the bottom of the 7th. the line drive to Joey Votto. So Storen turns in a 1-2-3 ninth. Stage set for the top of inning number 9. The Atlanta Braves, you can do so for as low as $12. First 20,000 in attendance. Receive an Anthony DeSclafani bobblehead thanks to Ram Trucks. The tickets go to Reds.com. That's a 4:10 game against the Braves coming up on Saturday. 7-10, 4-10, 1-10. 3 times starts at home against the Braves. All right, here's Roberto Osuna. Saved it last night, trying to come on and save it here today.
He's all of 22 years old. The Blue Jays signed him when he was 16 years old. He didn't hardly pitch much at all in the minor league organization for them. He had Tommy John surgery at age 18. And when he made his debut in 2015, he was the first player to have been born in 1995 to make the major leagues. Here he is at the ripe old age of 22 here this afternoon.
High and deep toward right field off the bat of Schebler, and this is a one-run game. Schebler tees off on the first offering from Osuna. That's 5-4.
I tell you, we've seen Schebler very aggressive early in the count. I mean, he goes up there looking for fastball, and when he gets it, he usually puts a real good, compact, but powerful swing on it. Guy is stout.
Second home run ball given up by Osuna this year. And with the Nationals playing tonight, Schebler has now taken over the National League lead in home runs with 16.
Harper won't be playing for the next few days, right? So he already appealed his suspension, got it reduced to 3 days. So you're looking at the home run leader, at least for the temporarily for Scott Schebler.
Schebler, Duvall, and Votto all in that top 5 group for home runs in the National League. Osuna can be had. He has 3 blown saves this year, including his first save chance early on against Baltimore. He blew back-to-back save chances in St. Louis near the end of April. He's 10 for 13. Jeanette down on strikes. That's the first out here in the ninth.
Roberto Osuna, who is from Mexico. Not only a lethal fastball, but a really good slider right there. Made his professional debut in the Mexican League when he was 16 years old. All the stories surrounding Osuna when he was 12 years old. He quit school to help support his family, picking vegetables with his father, who was also named Roberto. Now, Roberto, his father, pitched in the Mexican League for 22 seasons. And after work would teach his son how to pitch. If the name Osuna is familiar to you, it should be, because his uncle Antonio Osuna pitched Major League Baseball for 11 years, mostly with the Dodgers. He was a right-hander.
Well, Roberto has picked it up pretty well. 1-2 now to Barnhart. First pitch home run in this inning by Schebler is National League leading 16. Bring the Reds back within a run. Jeanette struck out. Barnhart now. Peraza on deck. That's gonna fall. That's a hit for Barnhart. And the Reds have the tying run on here in the ninth inning. Remember, in the game that they won last Wednesday in Cleveland, they did it against one of the best closers. Cody Allen had not blown a save all year, and the Reds were able to get to him in the ninth.
Yeah, the way the Reds have been able to come back this year has really opened a lot of eyes. It is not automatic at all, no matter who's on the mound.
Now Patrick Kivlahan. No, my mistake. Okay, Kivlahan has taken over at first as a pinch runner. Yeah, pinch runner is Kivlahan. Okay. For Barnhart. Peraza has a pair of hits today, including a bunt single his last time.
You know, the interesting thing, if you really look at the year-by-year statistics on Roberto Osuna, he has never pitched in Double-A ball, and he has never pitched in Triple-A. In their organization, he's only pitched in rookie ball and A ball. And part of that was because he had Tommy John surgery just a year and a half after signing with the Blue Jays. But he basically went from the Arizona Fall League in 2014 to the major leagues in 2015.
Towards second base and right under the glove of Goins and into center. And Kivlahan hustles his way over to third. That was a game-ending double play ball off the bat of Peraza, right under the glove of Goins. Reds have them at the corners with one out.
Holy moly, can you believe that? I mean, Goins thought it was a double play ball too. Maybe most so that he just took his eye off the ball, thinking he was going to have an easy 6-4-3 double play. Boy, for all the tremendous defense that the Blue Jays played last night to help secure that win, a glaring error here.
Well, a home run by Schebler, a single by Barnhart, a double play ball that would have ended the game, looked like off the bat of Peraza, goes under the glove of Goins. Now Billy Hamilton will have a chance. Well, it was a double play ball that appeared to end the game last Wednesday in Cleveland that was overturned on a challenge. And it's a double play ball here that is not played by Goins. As the Rays now bring their infield in. That's the tying run. Kivlahan over at third. Billy in this one 0 for 4. He hits one to the gap. Peraza could tie this game or give the Reds the lead as now he takes off, and so he's at second base. Now a single could give the Reds the lead. They do give Peraza a stolen base. Back-to-back 2 steal games last night, here today. It's all resting on the shoulders of Hamilton with the infield in.
I'm a little surprised the way the Blue Jays played that, to be honest with you, bringing the infield in. Maybe they didn't think that getting Billy Hamilton to a double play ball was a likely thing to happen. Needs to make contact here.
He's never faced Osuna. Now the veteran Morales comes in and says something to the youngster. Jays broke a 3-3 tie with a 2-run homer in the bottom of the 7th by Devin Travis. Reds get a homer by Schebler here in the 9th to pull within 1. Another tying run at 3rd. The go-ahead run at 2nd. 1 out. Billy strikes out.
Yeah, and I'm wondering if that's what Morales came in to talk to Osuna about, saying, hey, don't give him any off-speed stuff to speed his bat up. You go upstairs with a 4-seam fastball and blow this kid away. And he went right up the ladder and threw it by Billy.
So now the batter is Cozart. And just in case, Toronto now has J.P. Howell up and throwing in the bullpen. Left-hander for Votto, who is next. Zach today 1 for 3. .417 hitter with runners in scoring position, Cozart. He's down 2 strikes. Osuna trying to save it for Jason Grilli, trying to hang the loss on Peralta. There's your runners for the Redlegs. Kivlahan the tying run, Peralta the go-ahead run.
He is keeping the hard stuff on Cozart. Tried to go upstairs once he got the 2 strikes, came inside. Cozart not biting.
Cozart strikes out, and the Reds fall short. leaving the tying run at third and the go-ahead run at second. And the Blue Jays sweep the series over the Reds, winning today by the final score of 5-4.